Kimberly Crail is a wise woman, herbalist, and educator who came from Wall Street to the weeds. Casey's mission is to teach folks how to heal themselves using whole plants and foods as medicine. You can heal yourself with simple and inexpensive methods, foods, and herbs. And now, here's the host of Weeds of Wisdom, Kimberly Crail.
Hi, good evening. It's Tuesday, April the 8th, and I'm here in rainy Florida. We did have some sunshine today, but it is a absolutely gorgeous day. It was cool actually, and in the 70s, 60s and 70s. So we like that very much. So I'm very excited this evening. We're going to have Matt Hazen coming on to talk with us. And he's the CEO of Human Consciousness Support, and they make a product called MasterPeace. We're going to talk about minerals, metals, and more, and how we can handle certain things that are, maybe coming into our bodies that aren't really the most helpful. Okay, so again, just briefly, my background: I was a Wall Street person. I worked my way up. Worked 3 jobs, put myself through college. I was blessed to travel all around the world on PepsiCo's dime. And then I spent 6 years on Wall Street and advising big banks, making a big salary. I became CFO of a hot startup company in the recycling space. And it was really my dream job, but I got taken out by private equity. And so that was 2008. So I took my 6 months of severance and did something completely different, and did a shamanic herbal apprenticeship with an herbalist named Susan Weed in the Catskill Mountains of New York. So then when I came back from that experience, it really wasn't an option for me to get back into my old career, because I'd become a different person. I wasn't that person anymore. And so I got my real estate license, sold real estate for a number of years, and quite happily. And then in 2018, moved to Florida, and promptly had a car accident, and so made getting around a little tougher. So I got my mortgage broker license, and so now I'm an independent wholesale mortgage broker in 49 states. But it's quite the transformation, really. And what I do know from my time in business is the business model of the medical industry is really not to make you well, because a patient cured really is a customer lost. And they have a concept in business called caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. And what that means is that if it's advertising speech, you should expect them to exaggerate or potentially outright lie about whatever the content is of the advertising. And it's up to you to beware and to check out what they're saying and not take it at face value. And so therefore I don't sell products. I only exchange my knowledge of the healing arts for money. And I'm not looking to give you a fish for one, to fix you, or to feed you one time. I'm really interested in helping you learn some very simple skills that can lead you to make your own very powerful and inexpensive medicines at home. And you can use those for a lifetime. How you can use whole plants, foods, herbs to nourish you and heal you and whole you. And really, you are the only person with the power to heal you. I'm just someone that triggers within you your own ability to heal yourself. That's, I believe, how it works. So as we do every week, we're going to sing, or I'm going to sing, and hopefully the words are here, and maybe you want to sing along. It's a Seneca prayer, and essentially what it does is it opens up your right hemisphere of your brain. That's your holographic sphere, and so it makes you more open to the teaching that'll be coming your way shortly. So I'll start out. Sacred Corn Mother, come to me. Make my way sacred fill me with beauty. Sacred corn mother, come to me. Make my way sacred, fill me with beauty. Fill me with beauty. Fill me with beauty. Fill me with beauty, that I may bring others beauty. I always like that. So what is health anyway? Some people think health is being completely free of any kind of problem or pain or issue. And my teacher, Susan Weed, says, the wise woman says, good health is flexibility, opening to change, availability for transformation, being grounded while traveling the spiral of life and death and rebirth. Wise women nourish, we do not fix or cure or balance. Health is inherent in each being, with nourishment being the key that unlocks it. Nourish health, wholeness, holiness in each unique individual, aware of the holographic interconnectedness of all things. And that's Susan Weed. And so, because I don't sell products, it's really, I do spend money on keeping the project on the air and creating my classes and my consults for you and doing this show every week. So if you if you find something of value here, there's a QR code there if you wouldn't mind donating what you can if you can. Always appreciate that very, very much. Always good to feed the herbalist. So I talk a lot about minerals, and minerals are inorganic, and they have a distinctive crystal structure, and they are critical building blocks for our body systems, and not just your bones and your teeth, but they also make your muscles contract, like your heart, and they can, provide for conductivity between your neurons, your neural cells, your brain cells. They control the acid-base ratio in the body, or now I guess they call it acid-alkaline ratio in the body. They regulate your cell metabolism and your enzymes, your hormones, all of that regulate all your cellular activity. And the major ones are sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sulfur, cobalt, and chlorine. And the trace ones are iron, zinc, copper, selenium, iodine, fluorine, and chromium. And so one of the things that I've been doing for 17 years is drinking. Today I have linden flower infusion, which is the one on the top right of the slide. Linden flower infusion it's a little lower on the calcium side, but very, very high on the anti-inflammatory side. It also has a lot of mucilage, which lubricates your joints and your lungs and your other tissues. But these are the 5 herbs that I use in rotation and have been drinking on a daily basis for 17 years. It's comfrey leaf, that's red clover blossoms, linden flowers, stinging nettle leaf, and oat straw. And the nice thing about these is they're very high in minerals, and the way we make them ensures that it's so. And they're very simple and inexpensive. And the beverage allows your body to absorb the minerals directly into the bloodstream. You don't have to go through the digestive tract. So for a lot of folks whose digestion isn't working really well and they really need to be nourished, this is a great solution. And here's how you make them. It's really easy. I call them green elixirs because they're so revolutionary. So you're going to take 1 ounce of the dried herb by weight. Linden is the exception. It's a 1/2 ounce, but 1 ounce won't hurt you. It'll just taste very strong. And you're going to put that ounce of dried herb in a 1 quart glass canning jar, and then you're going to pour in 1 quart of boiling water. You're going to stir it up with a spoon or a chopstick, and then you're going to top off the water, and then lid it tightly, steep it 4 hours or overnight. 8 to 12 hours really is sort of the maximum. And then you're going to strain off the liquid, squeezing out the plant material, refrigerate, and drink within 24 to 48 hours. And you can drink it hot or cold. And these are protein rich for energy, and they're mineral rich. So it's not like coffee where you're going to get a jolt and then you're going to have a crash. These give you nice, even energy throughout the day with protein. So I want to share a story about my recent journey and how I came to um, become acquainted with Matt Hazen and MasterPeace. So, with so much talk about heavy metal pollution in the skies and certain injections and injectables and foods and soil and all this other stuff, I was um, happy to learn that when the body is sufficiently mineralized, it will chelate or remove the heavy metals on its own, as well as other toxins. So I was very happy when I learned that. And so after 17 years of drinking mineral rich, nourishing herbal infusions, also known as the green elixirs, I was really curious about my own heavy metal load and probably a little cocky, I don't know. So I scheduled blood work and what's called an EDTA chelation challenge. And I was told that the EDTA chelation challenge was more accurate than hair testing. But altogether, it cost me almost $1,000 to do these tests. And the results were such a surprise that I was shocked when the doctor's office called me about my metals. And here's those results. And you can see right in the middle of the chart, the one that's over there in the red is lead, and that's at 14. I think that's nanomoles per liter. I can't quite read that, but very high. And so they called me and said, gee whiz, that's very, very high, and you should come in right away and start doing more EDTA chelation twice a week at, I think it was $150 a pop or something like that. Or I could buy a 10-pack and it would be $130 a pop or something. But anyway, I really didn't, I chose not to do that. I was really quite taken aback. I also was high in arsenic, barium, cadmium, and to some extent some uranium, which I found interesting. And some of my other blood work numbers were out of range. My potassium was high, my globulin was low, my vitamin D was very low, 15. And that's even low for me, which is usually in the 20s over the last 20 years. And some other test results, my vitamin B12 was good. It's in the normal range. My urine pH is 7, which is normal. Glucose 89, normal. Sodium 142, normal. Calcium 8.6, a little low. I thought I would be a little higher in calcium again, all the calcium that I consume. The AG ratio, which is a liver function, was 2.0, which is normal, but still at the very tippy top of the range. And then something called GFR, which is, I guess it has to do with kidney filtration, was 77, which seemed a little bit high. So, so that was the work that I did. And so I had to go back to the Beauty Way, and because I was really kind of knocked over by this whole experience of thinking, oh, well, great, I'm protected because, my body is really super mineralized and I won't have any problem with metals or anything like that. And gee, I live in Florida, so what in the world, how could my vitamin D have actually been lower than the last time that I'd had my blood work done back in 2022? So anyway, so I had to go back to what I call the Beauty Way and really run through the 7 medicines, particularly the Serenity medicine, because I was a mess. I had to go get still and really figure out what my wise healer within wanted me to do about this, if anything, because I I had a little doubt before I got the IV, and I'm not really comfortable with any sort of IVs or anything like that, and even blood work I find quite invasive. So, and I'll tell you a story about radionics maybe in another show. But anyway, I went back to the Beauty Way and really just tried to step through the process. Just be still, do nothing, you know, bathe in some serenity medicine. And then, this is kind of how I do it. I love this little this little hedgehog in the lilacs. I just think it's so pretty, so precious. Anyway, but just sitting alone and just, being quiet and quieting my mind and listening to my soul. And so I did that for weeks, actually. And at the same time, I was collecting information, which is the story medicine. And that's a step one thing. And that's a low tech thing. See, I had skipped over this previously when I just rushed to go get a bunch of blood work and testing done, right? I hadn't really agreed with my wise healer that that's what we were going to be doing. So anyway, so the story medicine. So getting well really is a fight. I'm not interested in that. Getting whole is an expansion. I'm very interested in that. So the real question for me is, what story is the problem telling me? And what key to my wholeness does it hold? Because pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional in life. And so then I worked with my mind medicine, and really engaged the energy. And we know that we can heal just with nothing at all. Belief is very, very strong. Our mind is the most powerful healer that we have. And really set my intention on figuring out which way to go. And then my wise healer within said, okay, it's going to be MasterPeace. And it turns out my body's mineral uptake has been suppressed by heavy metals, notably lead. And, thank goodness for the green elixirs. Otherwise, can you imagine how high these metals might be? But it turns out that the metals camp out in the mineral uptake sites. And so they're unable to be absorbed as well. And so, and the whole cleanse, purge, detox thing is a heroic tradition practice that really is a step 4 medicine in the Beauty Way, the alternative medicine, which is, stimulate and sedate, not something that I'm well versed in. And, previously I had researched the Root Brand's Clean Slate product because I had clients with certain symptoms over the last, 4 years that have appeared. And that product was researched by Dr. Christina Rahm. And, but when it came to what was right for me, and I like the Clean Slate product, don't get me wrong, I was a little put off at the price point. The MasterPeace appealed to me, though, because it was very simple. It had 3 ingredients. It has 3 ingredients. And what I really loved is the acknowledgement of Matthew that and the people involved in formulating this, that the acknowledgement of the body's self-healing function, as well as frequency and energy aspects around these products. So and our healing journey. So I was very, very, very attracted to that. So I'm going to bring Matt on here in just a minute, but I wanted to just show you, because the other thing I saw was...
Get it? They die. That is the glue.
Salt is very important, and I know that several of my folks with the long symptoms have reported really good results, just increasing their salt intake. So this is just a short video talking about the importance of salt and how essential it is for health. And by the way, salt, sodium, it's a mineral.
Important thing you can give to the body that will literally keep your spirit inside your flesh and cause it connection is the great connector, which is the sodium ion.
You take sodium, it drops, your spirit leaves, you're dead. What is the first thing in emergency medical care that they give someone? A bag of saline. Why? Because if they don't get it, they die. That is the glue that keeps the spirit matter connected to the physicality. And silica can facilitate that as well. Your magnesium, this is the most important element for survival, is salt. The North Shore of the Great Salt Lake contains a lake plasma that is 30% concentration of every element, particularly salt, sodium, every element that the body needs for biological transformation. But these colloidal minerals from lake plasma or ocean plasma is significant to keep.
So I mean, I think it's very important that we understand that salt is important. It's a mineral. And then just one more thing I want to play here, which talks about the raw material
around.
Of the.
That means that the minerals.
Sorry.
If you took minerals in the marine plasma, which of course is as bioavailable as it gets, and then you take highly bioavailable zeolite, which is us at the nanometer size range, when you make a formula with it, and you take that formula into your mouth and you swish it around, that means that the minerals in the marine plasma should be able to make their way in a little bit faster, a little bit deeper, and then at the same time the zeolite grab the toxins as easy as possible. And of course, zeolite is not digestible. Zeolite's not digestible. So you have this amazing digestive picometer-sized minerals, and then you have nanometer-sized zeolite that comes in, takes the bad, and leaves.
We need to understand all the elements that are in our body. They work in synergy with the cell. Okay, so the cell, is the one that gives the orders. The marine plasma, the cell lines, they are right there in order to do what they need to do. The principal raw material for the cells, okay, that they can be in homeostasis. So if the cell has a problem and you give to the cell the right food, in this case marine plasma plus cell line, they know how to use it.
Yeah, so, that's really why my wise healer within said, let's go with MasterPeace. For all those reasons, the minerals, it seemed right to me that I needed to clear my mineral uptake channels so that I could take advantage of these wonderful herbal infusions that I've been drinking for so long, and really, really maximize the minerals that I get from them. So, the whole thing is, everything is frequency and vibration. And, there are positive and negatively charged cells and electrons. And so I don't know all the science, but what I would suggest is that, and I think Matt has a much better sense of all this. And he can explain a lot in more detail. We're going to go through each of the components in MasterPeace and what it does, how it works, and why it's 100% safe. So I'm very excited that Matt's going to be here with us very, very shortly, as soon as we take our first commercial break. If you are interested, you can get more information as well. So we'll be right back after this 3-minute break. Thank you.
Unlock the mysteries of the spirit realm with the new book, Meeting Wallace. In this channeled work by renowned psychic medium Larry Costa, the reader will delve into the profound wisdom of his spirit guide, Wallace. Together, they share the transformative journey of harnessing psychic powers from the celestial plane. Discover the extraordinary psychic gifts that have empowered Larry on his path, and immerse yourself in a thought-provoking and awe-inspiring read. Meeting Wallace is a groundbreaking endeavor, and it is a perspective seen through the eyes of a spirit guide. Discover the wisdom of the spirit realm alongside actual photographs of ghosts and spirit guides. Get the book Meeting Wallace by Larry Costa at Amazon.com.
Tickets are now on sale for Rebels of Disclosure 2025, May 12th through the 15th in Grafton, Illinois at the beautiful Pierre Marquette Lodge and Conference Center. This will be a 4-day event with 12 speakers covering topics such as ET contact, experiencer testimonies, lost history, secret space programs, time travel, Illuminati, parallel realities, and so much more. Visit journeytotruth.online for more details.
The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to Research a Haunted House can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unxmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unxmedia.com or amazon.com.
Welcome back. So our guest tonight is Matthew Hazen. He's a founder and CEO of Human Consciousness Support. I just love that name. A company that produces a unique nutraceutical product called MasterPeace. His quest is to raise the health and consciousness of himself and others, ultimately led him to heavily research zeolites and nanocolloidal formulations. Matthew was mentored first under Michael Coe, Chief Scientific Officer of Kansas State University, one of the top nano research labs in America, and together they formulated a nano-sized zeolite particle range never done before. Matthew went on to develop this formula further with the help of his assistant, and then studied under world-renowned Dr. Robert O. Young, a nanocolloidal formulator research scientist and writer of the well-known book, The pH Miracle. Together, they put the finishing touches on the now patented formula. Matthew has manifested a team of unique doers to assist in the production, education, and worldwide dissemination of this one-of-a-kind product that I was led to use. So thank you so much, and welcome, Matt.
Hello. How are you, Kim? Does my audio work okay?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Oh, wow. Let's have a great conversation. Everybody is going to learn a whole lot about cellular biology and electromagnetically how our bodies actually work. So whenever a nanocolloidal formula, which, the only formulas I would look at, whether I was making a nano formula or any other formula, would only have the highest source natural ingredients. First and foremost, you can't poison your way back to health. That's why vaccines don't, that's why, I don't believe in synthetic compounds. I don't believe in synthetic molecules. Yeah. And
drugs
so,
don't build health. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to supplement your way back to health. And so, first and foremost, we know that we have trillions of cells, and inside of each of our cells, we have millions to billions of molecules. And so our molecule composition, our molecular composition that we are is like 99.8% minerals and water. Think about that. Now, the master mineral is sodium. the most demonized thing in any diet in the world. No matter what diet there is, what do they demonize? Sodium. Why? I'll tell you why. They don't want you to know the truth about your bodies. And that is, if you have enough sunlight, you got enough healthy water, and you got sodium. If you are deficient in vitamin B this or mineral manganese that, your body can make whatever it needs to make if it has enough. So you have about 450 grams of sodium per average person. And then you take all your other minerals and you're down to like 5 grams and less. So, sodium is the master mineral. Now, what's important is knowing our composition as minerals and water. We could think, okay, well, our creator made our bodies harmonic. The inner environment works really great. The reason why we're not thriving and why we're in a worldwide health crisis, and the reason why we're all feeling sick, when we get sick more often, we get sick longer than we used to, the same things don't work like they used to, is because we're feeling sick because we're poisoned. And the reason why I say that is we spent $500,000 last year doing human clinical studies showing it. And so we tested the levels of glyphosate, chlorine, fluoride, microplastics, every heavy metal that there was, things like graphene oxide. The levels of these various synthetic compounds in us are all high, no matter, if we go to allopathic practitioners or not. And so we can see the effects that it's having on all health. The way back to health is a very simple way. Learn to detox and get the unnatural, synthetic, environmental pollutants, the heavy metals, the things that don't belong in your body, the things that are causing your body not to perform like they're supposed to, mentally not to perform, why we have this dementia and autism problems. Get that stuff out in a real way, faster than it's coming back in, and let your body be the amazing healing machine it was made by our creator to be. It's a professional at getting back to homeostasis. If you give it the right nutrients and you get the unnatural stuff out of the way, it's a working machine. And so I want to leave. I always feel like I best can give whatever knowledge I do have. And I've been in 2 very high level nano labs, and I am not indoctrinated. So I have gotten to be mentored by the most experienced and wisest. And so, but I also have a very good way of kind of keeping it simple for people. And so we need to understand the electromagnetic component of our cells and our communication system in our body. When our cells are healthy, the outside of our cells have a magnetic negative charge. The inside of our cells have a positive charge. Things that have positive magnetic charges are 2 things. You ready? One is minerals, which have a very small positive charge. The other thing is heavy metals, which have a stronger positive charge. So just so you can imagine, think about the laws of magnetism. If I have a negative magnet here and I have a positive magnet here, the stronger the positive magnet, the more it's going to have an affinity, right? And the stronger the positive magnet, the better it's going to stick inside of a cell. So when here is the metal where the mineral's supposed to be. Now you take in your mineral supplement, and instead of it being digested or metabolized or uptaked on a cellular level, it bypasses it, stays free floating, and you remove it because you're mineral deficient, because you have stuck positively charged heavy metals in your body. Simple as that. That needs to be explained to people, because once they think about that and they go, okay, that's logical, and then they can input more layers of information. And so when we're talking about the formula of MasterPeace, It is the first formula that we say is a nano formula. That's incorrect. We say that because people have heard of nano, but it's thousands of times smaller than the nano level. It's what you call the angstrom level, bordering the subatomic level. It is at the picometer range. And so the formula has the identical electrical charge of a healthy human being, which, FYI, fun fact, is negative 80 millivolts. So when you're looking at a formula and you're a big formulator in a lab, they always say, what's the ORP? Oh, which is the oxidative reduction potential. Okay, because you want to make sure the electrical charge and the magnetic charge is what you need it to be, so it goes and does what it's supposed to do, finds its target, right? So what MasterPeace does is targets hurt or harmed cells, which are cells that instead of having a negative magnetic charge, they have a positive magnetic charge, which means they have reverse polarity. They probably have heavy metal because that's why it's stronger positive than the negative. And so what MasterPeace does is has two all natural ingredients. One is from when Mother Earth is alive in every way you can test the body, just like you are. And so when Mother Earth has a fever and she releases her fever and breaks her fever, that is a volcano. And when that volcano goes into the ocean, the most beautiful chemical process happens, and it makes a mineral, another mineral that is inert to all living life. It doesn't hurt any life, but it has the strongest negative magnetic charge. Why is that important when we're talking about this formula of MasterPeace? Well, it's because every poison, every heavy metal, uranium, aluminum, arsenic, we've tested them all. We've peer-reviewed, published on them, by the way. But every type of microplastic, guys, this, graphene oxide, hydrogel, a lot of these different things, all of these unnatural, synthetic, what I call poisons, have one thing in common. They have a magnetic positive charge. So when we come in with the master binder, which is the clinoptilolite zeolite, and we get it down to the smallest size ever, which is about 10,000 times smaller than your cells, and then they're coated. Remember, these natural clinoptilolite is a strong negative magnet, right? It's a strong negative magnet. The other ingredient in MasterPeace is the most bioavailable, nutrient-rich mineral water that we can find on Earth. The same that's put in a sea of redox molecules, which is a pretty popular brand to different people. When you look at it at 1 million magnification underneath a high-resolution transmission electron microscope, you still can't even make it out. It's so small. It is well beneath the subatomic level. That is how small and bioavailable the mineral ions are. So here is the clinoptilolite, which in MasterPeace, which has a negative, and here is the minerals on it. And once it goes in, it goes to the deepest parts of your body. Your body loves it. It has identical pH to your extracellular fluids. It has identical electromagnetic charge to your body. So your body absorbs it right away and loves it. And all it does is it's tracking for the most positively charged poisons in your body. And once it magnetically finds those poisons, binds to them and traps them, and then escorts them out of your body. And what we've seen when we've tested the levels pure across the board is in 90 to 120 days, we mobilize out aluminum, lead, mercury, which, by the way, everybody's pretty high in lead and mercury. We get out people's levels at about 500, 200, 150% better than being a placeboed. And when you're placeboed, which we do placebo-controlled studies, placebo control is very strong. People's belief is over 30%. You can heal yourself with your mind. People do it nonstop. It's a well-known fact. And so And so when we're doing placebo-controlled studies with saline water that tastes very similar to MasterPeace, people do get benefits.
I'm going to put up your study chart.
Oh, yeah.
This one.
So this was the first and only in the world where we actually tested the toxin levels, what I call the chemical body burden level, that we tested the intracellular, which means the inside the cellular of blood. So we took the blood and tested the intracellular levels of what's in the mRNA delivery system, which is graphene oxide, hydrogel, and then we did other things like polypropylene, polyethylene, glycol, that's hydrogel. Polypropylene is what you see in a hot coffee, the inside of it, the soft plastic that gets hot and it leaches. So, PFOs. And you can see on the left, those are the beginning levels. Now, keep in mind, the only safe levels of these unnatural, man-made, industrialized chemicals is 0. This stuff doesn't belong in any living anything. It doesn't. Our bodies don't know. They're called forever chemicals because they're there forever. If you put them in the environment doesn't know how to break them down. You put them inside of us, our bodies don't know how to break them down. So when they're positively charged, they get stuck. They are literally stuck and trapped in our bodies. So our levels go up. Look at how high these people's levels at. The top of that chart, the top of the chart is where their machine cuts off at. Now, one of those people in that study right there was a naturopath practitioner of 24 years that has had the most perfect diet and was one of the most healthiest people you'd see. And their levels were even high. But now look at the middle level. That's after 35 days of MasterPeace. That's testing the blood. Our blood is sacred. How clean the blood is when you're testing it is very important. You get different signals and indicators from testing hair, and it's very important to test hair. It's very important to test urine, doing different provoked, whether it's intravenous EDTA or DMSA provoked. You can get different signals from each. But the blood, you don't want to see the blood levels do anything other than get cleaner and get good quick, because the blood is sacred. And you can see all the way to the right that the levels, we know, guys, we live in a very polluted world. We know that we're being polluted from all directions, okay? Everything is contaminated. And so, we have where we're literally, to be able to see where we are, the levels are still tracking down after 90 days, which is what we see on the right. That is amazing. So ask yourself, when we've tested for gender dysphoria chemicals such as atrazine, right? And we've done neurotoxins such as cesium-137 and phosgene, which is what they released at the East Palestine wrecks. Whenever we're talking about, components that we're worried about in different new, pharmaceutical technologies. And whenever we're going into heavy metals, we all know heavy metals disrupt everything. When you get 60 to 80%, what we found from our clinical study participants, which we have, we've posted and published these peer-reviewed clinical studies of all types, 2-arm studies, randomized, non-randomized, placebo-controlled. It's really it's a broad spectrum. MasterPeace is a broad spectrum antidote to the poisons that are in our environment. Basically, virtually all poisons are magnetically positively charged. And what MasterPeace is with Zeolite Z is down to the smallest size with this inert, safe, negatively charged mineral that magnetically binds to anything that is magnetic toxic, genotoxic, and cytotoxic inside of your body. I can guarantee you this: whatever creator or God you believe in makes our beautiful existence and our beautiful world, that person, whoever they were, however it is, consciousness, it doesn't matter, probably had a lot better understanding about the harmony and peace of it all than these people who want to take everything from nature, synthesize it, and try to do it that way. So when you get out all these synthesized unnatural chemicals that are in high levels in all of us, no matter if you avoided bad habits or practices that we know is toxic, no matter how much you work out, your levels are high and it's affecting your health. There's no way for it not to. Getting those levels out and getting the bad stuff out of the way that is keeping you dimmed down, that is keeping you not feeling connected, that is preventing you from sleeping good, that is preventing you from, being able to dream vivid, that's keeping your mind from being present and conscious. Get the stuff out of the way so that you can become your highest version again. Now, you talked about Root Brand's Clean Slate. I got to tell you, she was a nanocolloidal formulator, and the product at the very beginning was totally amazing. And people were getting amazing results before they started putting in potassium sorbate, citric acid, before they changed the formula up. I can tell you that at Kansas State University, we reverse engineered that product along with another product because that product at the time was performing fairly well. And when you are trying to be the best, if I'm trying to make something the best, I go find the best, and then I molecularly I diagnose it, and then I see how it can be better, and I build back better. So you reverse engineer, not to, of course, to catch up, but then to make it better. Right. And MasterPeace has about 15 times more better sized, better sourced clinoptilolite, and we have about 20 times more minerals replacement, and we have the highest source, most expensive mineral source with it, but it's also structured 4 times, which is very important, and it also has no preservatives in it. So the testing that we've done, and the reason why our cost is less is because, look, this wasn't so that I was the main person at the beginning, obviously. I was the founder and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but this takes a whole team to keep this thing up. This thing's been attacked by the FDA twice, the FTC, Health Canada. The fact of the matter is, if people feel better, think better, live better, they are better. They don't go buy allergy medications, antacids. They don't go buy over-the-counter drugs. They don't show up for doctor's appointments. They don't think to take all the pills that they got because they're feeling better. They're like, what's the point? I'm getting better. Okay. Well, so that is MasterPeace upsets the apple cart everywhere. They're either with us or they're totally against us. But we were made as the biggest labor of love from the finest intentions. And I don't care if you're into quantum physics or any of that, people. The string theory and quantum entanglement are irrefutable, replicatable things. And our belief, our intention have a huge play. This thing was created because there was something missing. People, no matter how great of lifestyle and health habits, it was getting our health was waning. Something was going on. There is a new, deeper, nano level, intracellular level toxicity that was getting our health in a worse predicament than we had been in before. And it was a total labor of love. The 2 people that have mentored me, they would never take $1 from me. They would never accept. They did it to help humanity. They literally have contracts with the biggest corporations on earth. And because they know of nefarious things going on, they literally did it so that they could know that they were part of the solution. And so this is the solution to the pollution. This is the antidote to the nano level and the intracellular level toxicity that is totally keeping. You will take MasterPeace. It's about $1 a day. There is no known negative harmful side effects because it's mineral water. It's super fancy structured mineral water. And when you take it, everything that goes on with your health, most people have some specific things, whether it's digestive, like something about you, right? And there's probably something about you specifically that you could say, man, I've tried everything to get rid of that. Okay, now look, If it's there and the root cause of it is from poisoning, which that's what we say, you're not sick, you've been poisoned. Now,
Right.
if you get out 20%, 40% of the lifelong accumulated toxins, 60%, it looks like by the time we've done 3 bottles, we've unloaded about 70%. It looks like about 5, 6 good bottles taken daily really
Right.
combs out the body. Where, ask yourself, if you can just think that every person on earth that's tested has high levels of these toxins and poisons, if you
Right.
woke up tomorrow and 80% of those toxins and poisons that prevent good sleep and do this and da 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 da,
Mm.
what would your health feel like to you? Do you think you would think better? Do you think you'd be more childlike? Well,
Oh
how
yeah.
would it,
Oh yeah. And one of the things that I really love about because people often say body, mind, and spirit, and I think that's exactly backwards because I've had numerous clients and myself where I was putting everything on it, taking everything for it, and it was not healing until I got into alignment and figured out what it was that was really going on. And so I love the fact that your intent is so loving, and the fact that you recognize the ether and that the body's divine ability to heal. I mean, I think that's why. And I have a question coming up in the chat here. Have I used MasterPeace? The answer is I started using MasterPeace 75 days ago. I'm participating in the 120-day trial, which for me seemed to be the best deal, right? Because I could get hard data with a hair test before and a hair test after, and 3 bottles of MasterPeace that last 120 days. And so I'm anxious to see kind of where I'm at the end, but I tell you what, the first week I was feeling better, like noticeably better. I think probably the initial impact is usually the strongest one. Firmer stool, not that I have loose stools normally, but definitely more focus, a little bit more energy, definitely, and then I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where the heck did all this lead come from? But I lived in a house 30 years ago that I renovated. It was a Queen Anne Victorian in Long Island, and it had lead paint on it, and I had it stripped off with a heat gun and a what do you call it, scraper, while I was living there. And so that's the only thing that I can imagine, but that's so long ago, right? And part of my issue that I've typically, cleanse, purge, detox, people don't understand that's very hard on the body. And so oftentimes it damages and destroys systems if it's not done properly. And so the way I was trained is, if it's water soluble, you'll pee it out. And if it's fat soluble, it's kind of there to stay. And my biggest concern over, the last 15 years or so has been, okay, now my body has done a great miracle of encapsulating this toxic thing, right? And taking it out of the way so it can't infect me in a fat cell. And so most systems are, it would seem to me, dragging that out of the safety through the interstitial fluids to an exit point. And I always thought, well, gee, isn't that just exposing you to the very thing you're trying to get rid of? So maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but that's the other thing that I liked about the zeolite, because MasterPeace has that little cage where it doesn't seem to allow any interaction with the interstitial fluids, and which are so important. Nobody talks about them, but they're so important in terms of when you're actually getting this out of the body. So that was a very long way around saying what my experience is and kind of what my questions are. Am I on the mark or?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say this. So it's always very we don't want to displace minerals and mobilize these harmful metals and just conjure it up. And so it's a very relevant question and kind of a hypothesis when you're thinking it through. And we just think of magnets, okay? And so the worst things in your body, irrefutably, are the most positive magnetic things. You are a negative. The Schumann resonance is negative. Your natural millivolt charge is negative. So the more positive, it totally makes you soulless. It can start to just ruin your charge. So it just totally dims you down. But zeolite is a very strong negative magnet. So when it finds the toxin, it locks it. It adsorbs and absorbs. And so we have plenty of scanning electron microscope, scanning transmission plenty of images that show us actually putting things like graphene oxide and aluminum oxide. And when it gets into the net of MasterPeace, the hexagon structure, it is magnetically stuck there. And so if any of it would be released, and we got to have a way to collect it and get it out, right? So we want to collect it with something like a mineral that's inert and is safe, but is also going to capture it correctly. And so and if it's going to let go of anything, it's only because it's choosing a more harmful, stronger, positive charged heavy metal in its place. And so, we're not in an environment where we're breathing healthy enough air, eating enough healthy enough food where we are ever going to be perfectly clean, where then we could wonder like, well, what happens if we take zeolite and we're in a perfectly clean body? Well, at that point, it would grab some minerals, but trust me, we're not anywhere close where we got to worry about losing minerals. We need to be losing metals because there's plenty of free floating minerals that want to find a better home in your body instead of just free floating and leaving.
Right. Got it. Well, and that was really, I mean, I am grateful that I have a huge mineral intake every day in a very bioavailable form. Otherwise, I would have been in really, really poor shape because, when you get lead poisoning, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not drooling or, unable to think completely, but clearly, there were some issues with focus and so on. Yeah. And, so I'm just, and see, this is why I teach people the beauty way. It's simple. It's like the 6 steps of healing, the 7 medicines. Just start from doing nothing, before you make any kind of decision, right? Get aligned with your source, get aligned with your wise healer within, right? So that you can, because what always happens, at least in, my 15 years of consulting with clients, is they get a diagnosis and then everybody's coming out of the woodwork. Oh, we'll try this and do that. And, oh, my sister did that. And then the doctor's over here going, well, we could schedule your surgery for next week or your chemo for next week. And you're just like, it's just like,
and they're working out of fear and they're working out of pressure, and none of us are ever. We are biochemical processors. That's like pouring water on the computer board and wanting things to work out. The time, that is the time to stop and go within, think, feel. I totally agree. I can totally agree that is the first absolute monumental step, because that's the reset. You got to get grounded.
Yeah, and get all that static out of the air so that you can hear and you can really connect with your wise healer within, or your source, creator, God, goddess, whatever it is that you refer to that as. So no, I'm so grateful, and like I said, I'm 75 days in, and when we come back from this next break, I want to talk a little bit. I actually want to go through each of the components of MasterPeace, and then I want to talk about EDTA chelation and some of the issues with that. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll be back after this 3-minute break. Thank you.
The Unnext Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unnext Network website at unnextnetwork.com. That's unnextnetwork.com.
Hi, welcome back, everybody. And wow, I like that has comfrey leaf in it with the CBD. I've never encountered that before. I love comfrey leaf. She's amazing. She's called Knit Bone. She knits skin and bone back together. That's her folk name. Welcome back, Matt. So I wanted to just show. Hang on, how do I do it here? Full screen. I don't know. Hang on. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So the issue that we're having is that we have, unlike previous generations, really, we're confronted with some nano-sized particle toxins. And these are forever chemicals, and they're synthetic byproducts of our plastics primarily, right? And then all the other chemicals. I know there are actually more than 100,000 chemicals currently in use, and only a handful have ever been tested for safety, and those are tested by the manufacturer. So I think there needs to be a moratorium on new chemicals for sure. And then we have the heavy metals, aluminum and lead, which, fortunately I didn't have too much aluminum, but the lead concentration was pretty high. And we have the graphene oxide. We have a lot of that in medications and gene therapies. We have the barium, aluminum, lead found in chemtrails, arsenic, chromium, cobalt, lead, and nickel found in pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. Would that be the main things for glyphosate, or I'm not exactly sure. I saw Stephanie Seneff talking about glyphosate, and then mercury found in dentistry. I'm really glad that my mercury wasn't higher than it is, because I've got a bunch of old fillings, which I've never removed, and root canals. So touch wood, everything seems to be okay for the moment. But let's talk a little bit about, the power of MasterPeace and just the ingredients here. I mean, This is one of the things that I loved, is it's just 3 simple ingredients. And so talk more about these 3 categories, Matt.
Yeah, so whenever we're trying to heal a living organism or heal the soil or repair, and it's been harmed, so if we take a soil sample test, or if we take our own urine test and we see that we have heavy metals in our body, so we know that heavy metals get stuck in cells. And so to be able to remove a heavy metal and then replace it with a healthy mineral is what they call a cation exchange. And so the cation exchange rate of MasterPeace is completely off the charts. And the reason why is because we make the ingredient that is a mineral natural clinoptilolite, which is lava that hits the ocean water. It has a negative magnetic charge, and we get it down to the smallest size. And so it has the strongest magnetic negative charge, and it's the smallest, so it's the most bioavailable. It's going to go to the deepest, to every single place in your body that has a stuck, trapped metal. And when it grabs that metal, when that metal reaches the MasterPeace Zeolite Z, and it is magnetically captured by our natural clinoptilolite, the mineral that was stuck to the clinoptilolite the most highest sourced, healthiest minerals that we can find, the sea plasma releases right where the metal has just been captured and taken out. So it's like grabbing a bad stepdad out of the home, and before there's even time to like, well, what's on? Oh gosh, dad's home. And so so it's a very quick cation exchange upgrade, and then your body electromagnetically is operating better. It physically is in every way better shape, and you can, if you think you are not connected holistically on a much deeper level than our science, I can tell you this, I can promise you this. The greater the scientists, and I am mentored by the most published scientist of our time, Dr. Robert Young. He has to publish in India medical scientific journals because he likes to publish on cancer and things, and he's a definite threat to the establishment. But what we have found is this: the more amazing questions you answer, the more questions we have. So it becomes really clear we're just scratching the surface. The more the person knows, the greater the scientist they are, the more questions they realize they have. So you don't answer a question without having three more, it seems. And so for us to be able to have,
by the way, and also there's the fact that science is only as good as its measuring instruments, and so as those improve over time, like when I was in grade school, the absolute smallest particle was considered to be the atom, and we know that that's not true now, right? And because instruments are more refined. So you're absolutely right. Science is always an evolving way, and I think I think the indigenous are probably like, going, gosh, I wish those folks would just catch up. We've known this all along, but weren't able to measure it, maybe improve it. So
yeah. And I would say we should all know this fact. There has never been something from nature that we have taken from nature and synthesized or modified away from nature. We've never made a modified compound or molecule. There's never a synthetic molecule or compound that has ever been created that when you put it inside of a living organism like us or anywhere, where it doesn't have a negative, harmful side effect. So our inner body knows what to do with itself, but not anything foreign. It attacks it. It gets inflammatory responses. It doesn't recognize it as safe. And so we shouldn't try to use these things that are synthetic, that are harmful, as medicines. We shouldn't be trying to take 30 different synthetic ingredients and make a pill out of it as if it's going to become healthy. We can't poison our way back to health. We can't supplement our way back to health. We need to get the poisons out with MasterPeace. We need to learn how to drink super healthy mineral water, because once you start taking MasterPeace and you're getting the poisons actually out of your body at a nano level for the first time, your body can all of a sudden uptake huge amounts of minerals that it couldn't before. So now your mineral supplements are needed more than ever. And now you're making that cation exchange and getting your human back. You're replacing the metals that are affecting your health from the Wi-Fi waves, from the radiation waves. You get those metals and those heavy metals and microplastics and different types of forever chemicals out of your body. It makes everything work better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and so I love the graphic of the little cages that cage up the the nasty bits. This is a video that I didn't get to play, but this is a really good graphic, I think, that shows what actually the MasterPeace is doing here. You have over here on the left, I guess, the graphene oxide, and then on the right you have the nano zeolite, and basically it just like cages it up and pulls it out and then takes it out of the body. So that is a beautiful thing. All right, so we went through that already. So I did the EDTA chelation, and I'm not sure. I mean, it was funny because right after they did the blood work, and then of course they did my urine, they took my urine, and then they, they were getting ready to switch into this EDTA, and I just had a momentary, like a tightness in my chest, right? And that's usually a signal of some sort. But then, the line was already in, and then it was going, but I had a little. So, so the EDTA chelation process, just for folks who don't know, is a way of being tested for heavy metals, and it is essentially I did the intravenous challenge. So basically, the EDTA, it's calcium EDTA, and it provokes your body to expel these various metals, and then it measures in your urine how much you excrete. And there's also an oral format as well. But talk to me a little. And I was told by a doctor, by the way, that that was a more accurate way of testing for heavy metals. So that's why I did it. But talk to me about EDTA chelation, and is that the most optimal way or not?
Well, if your goal is to provoke a urinalysis result, which means you want to take magnetically trapped heavy metals, and you want to mobilize them. And the reason why EDTA stands for ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. And we got to really simplify it. There are 7 types of EDTA, but the meat and potato, the foundation, the structure of them is all the same. They are synthetic compounds made from sodium cyanide, formaldehyde, and tetraacetic acid. Now, our measuring equipment, if you got to understand, if you're having an episode and you take a benzo, you feel better for the short term, it's a problem later. You got a bacteria infection, the antibiotic is not good for you, but it takes care of you right there. You got a pain pill. Okay, so the entire allopathic mentality works like this. When you do intravenous EDTA to mobilize a urine test, yes, it works good for that, if that's what the goal is. If it's to use it for a chelation or a detox protocol, which is what it's usually brought out as, then no, because you are not dealing with EDTA has no way to grab a toxin. I want to explain this where everybody can really get it. You cannot create nor destroy energy or physical or anything. You can change its shape, its matter, its state. You can make it from a gas to a liquid, but you can't create nor destroy matter. Okay. So if you have a metal that's stuck inside of someone, you put EDTA on it. It is a very harsh acid. It is a synthesized acid. Okay. So it was meant to clean out boiler rooms. Okay, originally. Not inside of a human body. So when you put it on a heavy metal or something, it dissolves it down. So 90% of the testing equipment, such as I test your levels, and then I put you on EDTA, and then I test your levels again. See, you're speaking about EDTA in terms of a chelation protocol for a urinalysis. And EDTA at that point is doing its job. It's going to mobilize because it's going to dissolve out minerals and heavy metals. It's going to dissolve out good and bad of everything. It's what they call anti-life. Anything that is synthetic usually sterilizes you, is antibacterial. They'll say antiviral. Viral is a whole discussion itself. But then, so I would say that there's never an example where taking synthetic compounds is a healthy thing. We know if we're taking needles, this is all unnatural stuff. It all doesn't feel natural. It should have our internal system kind of going, hold on, there's got to be a better way. There is nobody using EDTA as a chelation protocol or detox protocol that is healthier a year later. Yes, they'll all say the first few times they did it, they felt great for a week afterwards or so. Like, yeah, it felt really good. Yeah, well, yeah. It mobilized everything, it dissolved it down, and your body pushed it out to the interstitial fluid into your fat, which is where it really wants to shuffle and sweep your poisons. But it didn't get the levels out of your body, not even a little bit. It may have 90% of the testing scales can only pick up refractions of a small enough size. And so if you have a bunch of pieces this big that it can read and you dissolve it down with EDTA, now all of a sudden it's so small that the measuring doesn't measure it. And it says, oh, your levels have gone down. No, 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 no. They push, they mobilize, but if you haven't changed your lifestyle, if you're not eating healthier, if you're not trying to live healthier, if you're not returning back into nature, everybody needs an evolution back into nature. If you're not doing those things, you haven't gotten rid of the root reason why you are having all the problems. And you're going to find real soon from taking those synthetic compounds like that in an ongoing way, your health is getting progressively worse. Just like people popping pills. We know that. We can see they don't look healthier. They get more and more unhealthy because they're poisoning themselves with a bunch of petroleum-based things.
And that's the business model of the Rockefeller medicine system, right? Is not to make people well; it's to keep them chronically ill,
right?
And write multiple prescriptions. I mean, I know from my work with herbs, the very definition of a drug is it can kill you. That's called the dose 50 or whatever they call it.
LD 50.
The LD 50, right? So it'll induce death, right? The level at which it'll induce death. Herbs, and that's because they only work in one direction. Just an aside here, so if you take a drug for lowering your blood pressure, for example, all it can do is lower your blood pressure. But if you take an herb that manages blood pressure, like a hawthorn or something like that, it's going to go, oh, how's the blood pressure? Oh, it's a little low, let's raise it. Oh, it's a little high, let's lower it, right? So herbs are bi-directional, and so that's why they're a lot more safe. Now, can herbs kill you? Absolutely. It's important you know what it is that you're consuming. But they're infinitely more safe, and so so my intuition was correct that there was something not quite healthy about what I was taking in. The good news is I did it once, because afterwards I was having a nervous breakdown because I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't had lead exposure for 30 years. And so from what I know, it's probably was safely stored away in my bones somewhere.
Right.
And now I've been dragging it out through the years. Still like, oh man, you're such a moron. But so anyway, so when I finally stopped kicking myself, see, this is the thing. I was kind of upset that I had not, more considered the whole thing. But then what I realized was, the lesson here is that I needed to learn about a step 4 medicine, which for me has never been in my bailiwick. It's not something that, I can't make MasterPeace in my kitchen, right? And so, it's, I needed to find something that was a step 4 medicine that felt like it was in harmony with nature, because nature always tends toward perfection. And the idea that man can do better than nature, I think, is where we start to get into trouble, right? Because my friend Dr. Judy Mikovits, she has the most wonderful definition of science I've never heard a scientist describe before. She says, well, true science is observing nature and translating how nature works into a language that we can understand.
Yep.
Isn't that cool?
That's totally true. That's exactly true. It's exactly true. Yeah, I call it the creational teachings. It is exactly what the only science I've ever learned is science that's learned through the cycles and patterns of nature. I don't understand. I don't have any disturbed pseudo fake based, non-scientific based, non-quantifiable based, programming that I got to deprogram. And it's true. Nature has the answers. There's no reason to look into man-made. Man-made has never worked.
Right. Well, and my teacher, Susan Weed, she has this great little, somebody sent her this, it's a fairy, and it hangs from the ceiling, and it's got a little wand, and then it's got a little thing that hangs below, and it says, Mother Nature always bats last.
Wow. That's awesome.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Because it's so true.
I love
Right?
that.
Mother Nature always
Yeah.
bats last, folks.
You better believe it.
You know, might as well just,
Might as well work with
dance
it,
with her.
because you're not gonna beat nature. It's so true. That's so true.
It's gonna escape in some weird way, with unintended consequences. Like Mother Nature didn't think about that. Well, yeah, she did. That's why she didn't make it that way.
She has an ebb and flow out of anything. Yeah. We want to compartmentalize two different things, and we have no idea. Every law we have is flexible. There's no such thing as an always. It can be a this and a that scenario with so many things too. But yeah, we must work with nature, because nature will always bat last.
That's great. Now we do have a question from one of the audience. Do we think that the organic meat, fruit, and vegetables have been vaccinated or otherwise contaminated? What's your opinion on that?
We have actually tested what was supposed to be super healthy meat out in the United Kingdom, and I would just be understanding that we're in a world that no matter what is contaminated. So, just like if we've had some type of, we've tested the levels of like graphene oxide, and whether or not someone's been their levels, you can't tell. Everybody's levels, we're catching it from every direction.
Right, overhead.
Yeah. So I would say the proper game plan, since we can't avoid all contamination to every degree, is literally, now listen, everybody that does this is the healthiest. Everybody is the healthiest they've been, but I'm going to give you a big old secret. All right. Drink super healthy mineral water. Take MasterPeace, an infrared sauna with a good infrared sauna to purge the excess toxins out. But if you will reduce the bad choices in your life, whatever they are that is not healthy, just try to get those in check and do better. But don't forget to take your MasterPeace. Don't forget to have the top of the line mineral water supplement, because purify and cleanse yourself with what you are. Get the bad out, purify with what you are, and getting a good infrared sauna, because it purges out the toxins. And when you do, it takes your health to the highest level. And that's what if I'm going to tell someone, like, eat the food that you enjoy.
Right.
When your body if you're excited about whatever you're eating, then your body is receiving it. I believe the healthiest food is the one you're most excited about eating,
That's so funny, Matt, because, in herbalism, we have this heroic tradition, and they have these really strict rules, and there are these food groups that get vilified. Oh, you can't have that, and you can't have that, and you can't have that. And, I never tell people that they can't have something. What I say is, why don't we add something? Right. And so usually, and this is so funny, I had this lady, I think she was like 2 months in drinking these nourishing herbal infusions that I teach people how to make. And she's like, what did you do to my M&Ms? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I used to love M&Ms, and now they taste horrible. What did you do? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. You did. Because what happens is, if you tell somebody they can't have it, they're going to feel deprived. And then they're going to get to the F-it moment, and then they're going to go binge on whatever that thing is they've been deprived of. But if you just say, oh, let's add this. And guess what? You can add anything you want. You want to put vodka in there. You want to put whiskey in there. You want to put lemonade in there. Put anything you want in there. Then they don't feel so much pressure. And then once their bodies are nourished, guess what? They lose their taste for that nasty stuff, right? So I think maybe it's a matter of approach or psychology, but I've had a lot more success with the latter than
Right,
than trying to tell people that they have to give up their M&Ms. Oh my God,
right.
this woman probably would have just.
Nobody.
It's just like
You're, to-
no, I'm not going to listen
you're
anymore.
totally right. I've never, especially, I hope I'm going to sound sexist. I especially never met a woman that wants to be told what to do. I mean, who wants to be told how to feel, right? I don't think any. As much, yeah,
Right?
it's totally better. Like, here, let me give you options, and then it's like planting a seed. Then they say, oh, I can kind of see, but it is neat when we actually do detox our bodies properly, like our sense of smell, taste, our vision. A lot of times, you have several testimonies of people's vision. Your hearing, but everything that has to do with how you connect with the environment comes online more, and and you become more sensitive. So it's easy to be addicted to these false chemicals that were made to trap you.
Right.
But as soon as you detox those things off out of your body, you start wanting that natural stuff more. Fruits and
You do.
vegetables taste better.
You
Yeah.
do. Well, in fact, it's interesting. I was looking into a few years ago how people had lost their natural taste for water because they
Yeah.
weren't drinking any water. And once you stop drinking anything else, I mean, now I just drink these. But you really are thirsty, and nothing will quench that thirst like water. You really, but we've lost our taste for it because we're drinking soda or coffee or tea or whatever it is that we're drinking. Um, so I find that interesting too. But yeah, I mean, water. I mean, we're is what the form the goo of life, right? This is
Yep.
like the cauldron of life. Is water. So I'm very attracted to this. I'm in at day 75. So for the people out there who are interested, I'm going to just put up a website where you can go and you can actually sign up. It's completely free if you want. And you can learn more about MasterPeace. So it's a bit.ly link, Weeds of Wisdom. So bit.ly / Weeds of Wisdom. And you can look around. There's all kinds of research there. You can, and then if you want to use this code, you'll get a 10% discount off anything that you decide, if you decide that it's something that's right for you. Because again, I think everybody has to go through the process of figuring out, is this what my wise healer within wants me to do, right? If I had not gone through that, I probably would have just gone with the other product that I had been recommending a couple of years ago and would not have looked further. But no, I listened, and then I ended up finding you. So I'm participating in a 120-day study. The nice thing I like about you is that you do the studies. You allow all of us to participate in the studies. So if you haven't ever taken MasterPeace, you can also be in the study. And people are asking what the best way is to test the metals. The hair tests are included here, and I'm very excited to make my 120 days and get my hair test results back. So very, very excited about that. And I think the message is really we need to learn to trust ourselves. And as we were talking about, nature provides everything that we need. And so, and I love the fact that you use it's essentially lava, volcanic lava is what makes zeolite. And so I'm a certified diver, advanced scuba diver. So many, many years ago, I'm trying to remember the name of the place. It was in Indonesia, far north Sulawesi. And I'm blanking on the name of the town. I don't know if it's still there, but wooden boats, right? We would go out on the night dives. It's just, and then the brine shrimp are like glowing, and it was just beautiful. But they also had a volcano that was erupting under the sea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was really interesting. You couldn't get
Wow.
that close because it was super duper hot. But I do remember the boat went by there, and we kind of like snorkel and kind of see what was going on.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so it was really very interesting to me. And I'm guessing, that all of these volcanic locations are where probably most of this material comes from, but I don't really know.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at the Greek islands or Fiji Islands, which is where big volcanic eruptions, wherever you see clinoptilolite zeolite, that is the cleanest waters that you can test. That's the cleanest ocean waters, or where this zeolite is, because it is a response by Mother Earth when she is in need of cleansing and getting herself right. She lets out the volcano as a response to break her fever, so to speak. And so
Right.
with the zeolite, it traps all the metals there, and it does the same thing in our bodies. And we just get it down to way beneath a nano size and grabs those things out that is preventing you from being your best version. Yep.
That's really cool. I love that. Yeah, so that was and I hadn't really thought about that until I started on the MasterPeace. I was like, oh, zeolite, volcanic rock. Oh, and then I remembered this experience of being, near this volcano that was erupting.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you can get actually kind of close to a volcano that's erupting under the water. You can't really get very close if you're on land. It's
Right.
pretty dangerous. But even then, they said, you got to be careful, because it was, I mean, literally, liquid rock is hitting the water, and then steam,
Yeah.
it's like, up on the surface, and then you could see like it was bubbling underneath. It was really cool. It was very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's
So
amazing.
maybe there's another location for you to check out, because the water was incredibly clear. And like when we went on the night dives, I mean, there's certain plankton that glow in at nighttime, and the coral blooms at night. It was absolutely stunning. So I can never remember the name of the place. Far North Sulawesi, Indonesia. But it was a lot of fun. So yeah,
That sounds incredible.
yeah. So now this is a great product for reducing metals, and then the plastics and the polyethylene. Now, what about parasites? I hear a lot of people talking about parasites today.
Yeah, I
Talk
would
to me about
say, people say I got mold, or I got candida, or I got parasites, or I got bacterial overgrowth. I would say, in the real biology, and this would be let's just rely on our inner wisdom. Okay. These things get to be extreme in our bodies. We get a lot of bacterial, we get a lot of parasites, because our inner environment is unhealthy. So when our inner environment is more unhealthy, these things show up more and more. And they're trying to do cleanup. They don't eat the good things in you, they eat the bad things. Parasites eat heavy metals and all. So as you clean up your inner environment with MasterPeace, the environment that they thrive on, that they show up in, goes away. So it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, or the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart? It doesn't matter. When you get your body in a much healthier response, those counts, the parasites that you see in your stool or whatever's going on, that's going to drastically reduce. You're going to notice that. And what you're also going to notice is all your healthy habits before, like if you have an alkaline or raw fruit and vegetable or an herbal mindset towards your diet, all the way that lifestyle used to be enough, that returns when you add MasterPeace into the mix, because the thing that prevents it all from working like it used to work so easy was that you have these accumulated toxins. So once you get out the toxins and shave it down, your body starts operating, meaning your metabolism and everything else, right back on the levels that it should. So things like diabetes or any type of high cholesterol, these things that they say you have because your body's not working quite as good as used to, those things usually regulate right out. And then that's why we have over 1,000 testimonials of people like, I went and got my levels checked, and then I went back and like, what have you been doing, because this is the best labs you've had in years. And so get the junk out, and parasites and the other worries will be a lot less of a worry. Those levels will go right down.
Right. Okay. Well, and 2 points. because my biggest concern, again, I'm not a big purge, cleanse, detox person, so I'm not deep and wide at all in that. But it would seem to me that, based on what I know about bacteria and gut flora, there's an awful lot of those little buggers that we rely upon. So how do you pick which one gets wiped out by the drug that you're taking, right? That's a real question in my mind.
Right.
You don't really want to wipe out your good bacteria and your gut
Right.
flora.
Right.
And I think there's some 300 or 400 different kinds of bacteria in the gut just alone. So I wasn't sure. I mean, I have cats who are trying to get up here and be in the picture. And people are like, oh my gosh, you got to worry about Toxoplasma gondii and all this stuff, and that's why the cat ladies are all crazy because of the feces. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, you guys, this fear thing, you guys got enough, right? Because in fact, here's a good one for you. You're going to love this one. Okay, so there's a live duck in a glass bottle, but the neck of the bottle is too small for the duck to fit through. So how do you get the duck out of the bottle without breaking the bottle or killing the duck?
Oh, no.
Good, you didn't think about it too long. Silly. There can't possibly be a live duck in such a bottle. We just made up a problem that we were worrying about. So when we make up stuff to worry about, I call it duck in a bottle. That's a duck in a bottle, right? And so, I get that a lot with my clients too, right? It's like, okay, well, wait, what are you like? I don't know if you ever watch Bob Newhart, but did you ever see the episode where it's the Just Stop It episode?
No.
Oh my God, that's hysterically funny. There's this woman, and she comes into his office, and she's like, I'm afraid I'm going to be buried alive in a box. I had this fear forever. And he's like, just stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. We make everything very complicated. But, like Occam's razor usually says, the simplest explanation is usually the correct one.
Yeah.
I was a philosophy major, so, I know all that nonsense. I'm very curious what your background is that brought you to all of this science. Was it really very scientific or more like yoga, yogi kind of thing?
I've been a big fat geek my whole life. I've been a real geek. I have always been very, very, very curious. Even when I was in grade school, I was already figuring out how to pull the THC out of cannabis, some different little dumb thing. I've always loved nature. I've always been leading edge. I've been more esoteric. I've always liked to look into things. I've got a PhD in failure, so I make mistakes and I love to learn from them. Right. And so I've just have this love for health. And I got older kids and I got older boys and I had my little girl on the way, and I had moved my family out to the country, out in God's country, and I was just like, I knew that Root Brand's product wasn't working for people anymore. Mm-hmm. And we had seen why, because we had seen the magnetic charge, it was acidic, like at 1.8. We seen the things that like, oh wow, this is no wonder. And so, it was nice to make something that helped people's dream vividness, their connectedness, just their daily joy. We had something that was really special because, we live in a very poisoned environment that is people really dimmed down. And it was just, I couldn't shake it. I thought, man, I'm going to be too old, and this world is this world is going to gobble my little girl up, and I'm going to be too old to know how to be able to do anything. I thought the one thing I could do is maybe change the environment, change the consciousness. I thought, well, I actually thought the thing that's wrong with the world, it's not on the animals. I mean, it's on our thinking. It's on our waywardness. The people that run things that make these plants that don't care about the exhaust fumes and all this. And I'm like, okay, if we can get the poisons out so we can all think a little better and critically think and start making more caring and connected decisions.
Right.
And that I just kind of started running with that. And when I was getting a hold of these people who were experienced in nanocolloidal formulations, they wanted to help. They wanted to help make something that was going to help change the world, because it will change the world. Literally, if you feel better, then you talk to people in stores different. You affect your animals, your loved ones different. You affect your world and your community better when you're taking MasterPeace. I mean, that's a big deal. So.
It is a big deal. No, it really is. And I just want to play the really quick video on brain fog, because I think a lot of people are suffering from that today. And so I just want to play this really briefly.
Who wants to get rid of brain fog and have greater mental clarity? Me. That's why I started taking MasterPeace. Just 5 drops under the tongue morning and night, and within a few days I experienced mental clarity like I haven't in years. So what is MasterPeace? It's special seawater called marine plasma with nano-sized zeolite added. The same stuff used by environmentalists to remove spilled toxic poisons. Zeolite attracts positively charged toxins, binds and eliminates them from the body. And since it's nano-sized and carried by marine plasma, it travels everywhere water does in the body, including the brain. Finally, a way to get the nasties out of our bodies and return our minds to be thriving, brain fog-free.
Yeah, I mean, I had so much more clarity. Like, I really noticed it in the first couple of weeks, and I think it's just gotten better. And, you know, the interesting thing about that in my case is it also brings my stress levels down, my cortisol levels down, because when I can't remember something, or I can't, I mean, when the executive functioning isn't working properly in the brain, it causes a lot of stress. And so I felt a lot less stressed. And I think that's, you know, it's sort of a combination effect, right? Where I'm getting reduced metals and increased focus. And, you know, I haven't really wanted junk really either. Right. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. I'll be very interested. Now my understanding is sometimes so do all the readings go down after 120 days, like on all the different metals, or I mean, I guess I'm anticipating, I'll have huge progress, but I don't want to be wildly off in terms of my expectations like I was the first time around. But
hair testing is a very systemic thing. You're seeing a 3-month view. It's not like when you take a urinalysis or a blood test where it's a snapshot of right then. So it's very unique that we test 4 months apart. Usually with a hair test, because it's systemic and we're looking in improving your body's ability to detox metals, even 20% is a huge achievement, right? That means you're really shaving that, you know, that's big gains. And that usually takes like a year. So the fact that we only have a 4-month window before we retest, that's because we beta tested and we've seen that this product works that good. Now, will your levels go down? They may go up, because we're testing hair. So let's look at this. Inside your body, you have heavy metals that are stuck, and we're testing the hair. So if we start taking a product like MasterPeace that detoxes the body and extracts and purges these stuck metals, well, at first, the levels go way up because the body is releasing them into the hair. They're not stuck inside anymore. So your levels go way up. And then once you have purged and released and removed that lifelong of accumulated toxins, you'll know, because your beginning number will be like this, and then your next number will be like this. And then once you finally purged it, it falls right down and you have basically none left. And so that's when you're like, yeah, I've detoxed it and removed it out of my body. Is that going to happen in 4 months? It's a 50-50 with MasterPeace, which is amazing. That's how good it works. We have had people with aluminum levels at 41 and it go down to 1 in 120 days. We have had it where if you have an aluminum level in your hair of 0.86, we had in the first study where all of a sudden it was at 11, which means this guy is releasing tons of aluminum, and he was feeling incredible, and his mind was working real sharp, and he was loving it. And it's like, man, your body is releasing that. Now we're going to get his results for the next 4 months, and I about guarantee it's probably going to be, plummeted, and there's not going to be any levels of aluminum because he's gotten them all out of his body.
Right.
So we're looking for mobilization of metals, not, we don't want the number to be the same as it was. We want to see that it's gone up or gone down, which means if it's gone down, it's gone up, then down. We want to see it doing one or the other. We don't want to see it staying still.
Right. And then in terms of my D levels, I mean, I was really shocked at how low my D levels were. I mean, 15 is pretty low. Now, I have also been outside. I've made this, my meditation time is now high noon or thereabouts, and I sit in the sun for 30 minutes to an hour every day. Of course, it's going to get too hot for me to do that too much longer, but and a lot of the vitamin D absorbed through the eyes, and I'm told the belly as well, but I know about the eyes. So super important, folks, if you're looking to get more vitamin D, don't wear sunglasses because that's blocking out the receptors, which are your eyes, are the biggest receptors of vitamin D. So what I mean, I'm guessing metals must interfere with vitamin D uptake as well, or what's the story there?
Yeah, absolutely. Every way, everything. The functioning of your body is negatively affected by magnetic toxic compounds on every level. And so when you're dealing with a heavy metal, which is positively magnetically charged and magnetic toxic, there's not one aspect of your health that isn't compromised in a negative way by magnetic toxic compounds. So getting heavy metals out is going to improve your health in every way.
Right. Well, now that I've added sun, I guess I have two variables, so it'll be interesting. I just want to get the D levels up because I know D is super, having low D is a precursor to a lot of different diseases and health problems. So definitely want to. But the interesting thing was I've charted out my blood work over the last 20 years, and it's never been more than like 20. So, and the funny thing is my blood work hasn't really changed very much. I mean, I'm still, I'm 63, or 64, I just turned 64. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I mean, I apprenticed with Susan when I was 47. So I probably got myself just in the nick of time in terms of, nourishing myself properly. Because I used to work for the world's biggest junk food company. I mean, I worked for PepsiCo. And I mean, they financed my first class flights and my 5-star hotels as I went around the world, and I was practically mainlining Diet Pepsi, which could explain why my mom was always saying to me, she's like, "Honey, I just don't understand why you're so heavy. You don't eat that much." I'm like, "I don't know either, Ma," and so it's probably the aspartame is my guess. I don't know, but there's a lot of different factors. But yeah, especially since the car accident, I'm not as active as I used to be. I can't actually go out and play golf and do all the jogging and running and all the things that I used to do. And so it's like, whew, you really do realize. So yeah, life is always throwing you a little bit of curveball, and the key to being healthy is to be flexible, right? And to be available to to change and to change your mind, to keep your mind open. I mean, I honestly think that's probably the most important thing because the white coat doctors, they've just been indoctrinated so heavily into what they know, and they haven't been giving any basic training. And I mean, I think they get about 4 hours of basic nutrition, which I think is a video for most of them, right? And so they just don't know, and they only know about drugs and pharmaceuticals, and so they're not probably going to be able to help us as we move what I perceive as moving back towards the natural world. I mean, I think it's going to be a bit of a battle between technocracy and Mother Nature, she always wins. I mean, it never really works out for the technocrats, but we'll see how that works. Yeah, so now talk a little bit about EMF as well, because I know EMF is a big irritant to a lot of people. And so why is that a problem?
Yeah, there's two types of poisonings that we are under. So your health is 100% compromised from two different things. One is chemical poisoning, which is like forever chemicals, heavy metals. The other one is radiation poisoning, which is like EMFs, Wi-Fi, radio waves, microwaves, all types of waves. So synergistically, this radiation waves, like from the low orbiting satellites, and the synthetic and the chemical poisonings, synergistically, those two affect our everything on on a cellular level. So the reason why our turbo cancers, anything to related to disease.
Right. And I guess it makes sense because metals are going to interact with electricity. That's why you don't put aluminum foil in the microwave, or so they say. So we just have a few minutes left. I want to make sure people understand exactly how what they need to do in terms of how to order MasterPeace. So I'm just going to play a quick video here, and then I'll let you make some closing comments.
Well, if people want to learn more, because we have a lot of information, they can also see the study results and go through a lot of stuff. Or if they want to purchase, you guys are going to have to provide a link. Yeah. Now, there's no membership fees. There's no obligation. This is not an MLM. This is not you got recurring fees, or there's no catch, okay? People are going to sign up, give up their name and their email, and make their password. They accept the terms and conditions, and they go right through. And that's the way it works. So you don't have to buy every month or none of that kind of stuff.
Right. So, so it's a great, I think it's a great product. I'm having great results so far. More data to come when I get my 120-day test results. So we got about 3 minutes left here, Matt. You want to give us your final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I think we can all agree on one fact. No matter what successes you've had in your life, no matter what, how much money you've made, if your loved one, if someone that you care about's health is failing, you would give it all up for them. You would give it all up for yourself. And so, safe to say, our health is truly our wealth. And so being empowered with the knowledge to have the highest level health possible in today's world is really simple. It's a great return to nature where you want to take in more raw, natural things that are found from Mother Nature. And then you need to get out the synthetic, nano-sized toxins that are in the air, in the food, in everything, and is making its way and has made its way into the living beings of everybody. We've tested the levels. Your levels are high. Your health can't be where it needs to be with them in there. Get those things out, and then get more nature back into you, and you will revolutionize your wealth, which is your health. And that is the most important thing we can all do for our lives. Get ourselves together and empowered with the knowledge of how to thrive in such a toxic world, and you'll have the highest quality of health of life wherever you go. And so, that's all I would like everybody to consider.
Perfect. So again, folks, if you're interested, there's no cost or obligation. Scan the code here or go to bit.ly/weeds of wisdom and sign up for your very own free account and get started with MasterPeace today. So thank you so much, Matt. It's been great having you, and I'm definitely going to bring you back when I get the 120-day hair test results, and we can talk some more about that and my progress. And I'll probably do some more blood work and get the D and so on tested as well. So we'll have the complete picture. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you back.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
All right. You too. Thank you. Bye for now.